Hi, this is Dr. Susan Swim with Now I See a Person Institute, and we are honored to have our guest today, Trudie Averett, and she will be also with us in our upcoming conference, which is on August the 10th. And you can go to our website, www.nowiseeapersoninstitute, to find out a little bit more about the conference. So we had a wonderful conversation the last time. It also included Ashley Lopez, and we found out a little bit about the lived experience of someone whose voice was not heard within the system of attempting to get help, and that the system actually um, was very problematic. And we thought today that we would talk about a little bit of how problematic that was. What I find as a researcher and a clinician and educator of over 43 years, this coming year, is that most people do not know anything about what we're going to talk about. It's kind of like the unspoken. And a lot of times when people receive help from psychiatrist or psychologist or therapist that they found not successful, they tend to be silent. And I think there's many reasons for that silence. And today we're going to kind of throw some light um, on those voiceless um, moments that I think most people accompany when they enter into the mental health system. So, so Trudie, I know I mispronounced your name. Could you introduce yourself just very quickly, and then maybe talk about what you feel is important for our listeners to hear?
Hi, Susan. Thank you. I'm Trudie Averett. Now you got it now?
Well, if
Yeah,
anybody
thank
wants
you.
to have their name mispronounced, just have them call me, and I will do so. Accidentally.
There,
Thank you.
there you go. Yeah. Yeah, last time when we spoke, you you mentioned that we need to focus on the abuse aspect of the mental health system, and it was quite difficult for me to figure that out. Um, there's some very obvious things that's easy um, to unpack. Um, you know, things that were said that were obvious abuses of power. Um, I know better, you don't. I know what's wrong with you, you don't. You need to listen to us. They were obvious things, but I, I, I've been feeling the whole time, and ever since I entered into the mental health system and the help that they were supposed to give me, that I was being manipulated, abused, coerced. Um, but I couldn't put my finger on it exactly what it looked like or how to verbalize it and how to pinpoint it. Um, so I wrote a couple of notes down just to help me to clarify my thinking and speaking about it. And the first thing I came up with was the diagnostic violence. I call it diagnostic violence. It was being given a label telling me that I'm disordered. I'm I am a disorder. I'm a disordered person with a disordered brain. So that is I fought against that the whole time. Every single time I would go to therapy with a psychologist or when I would see the psychiatrist, I fought against that label because I I couldn't understand how they could justify it. On what basis? am I disordered? Was it because of my symptoms and those symptoms checked boxes? Because there surely weren't any tests done um, to, to verify this claim. Um, so I really felt abused and boxed in and bullied into that label. Um, I think I'm still unpacking what it means for me, what it and how I allowed it to happen. Um, I worked as a counselor for 30 years. So I was part of the system, and I also agreed with the labels. Um, you have borderline personality disorder, or um, you have generalized anxiety disorder, like I was supposed to have. And I agreed with it. That to me, that was my training. That was my world. That was my normal. So when I was on the other side of it, yes, speak.
So, so you said that you were on the other side of it, and I thought maybe um, you could help me understand that just a bit more. So, what I'm understanding from your words is that these were constructs that you had believed in for 30 years. Is that correct? That there
Yes,
were people that were borderline and there were people that were bipolar or whatever.
absolutely, absolutely. And when I was in need, when I was in pain and need and reaching out for help, when I was diagnosed and medicated as a result of that, I believed that they knew what they were doing because they were the professionals and I was the client. I was in the powerless position for a change. But it didn't sit well with me because if I could have lived my whole life without a label and be a full person, why would I now have to fit into a box um, and be medicated? Do I need to change who I am? Uh, is that a problem? Who I am? How I react, is that a problem? I've never been one for suicidal thoughts, you know, hurting myself or even thinking about hurting anyone else. So what is the purpose here? Was I being protected from myself? No, I don't believe I was. Um, so in that sense, it's abusive.
um, And can
Makes
you,
sense?
and so for you personally, how did you define it as abuse?
I did not have a voice. Or when I did speak, I was dismissed. My voice was definitely dismissed um, because of the position that I was in, needing their help, thinking I need their help. Um, I was obviously going to have to accept that they know better, that they know what I need, what my problem was, and what the solution was. So I had no voice to say, no, this is not what I need. This is not what's best for me. I obviously didn't know what was best for me. So I thought. So I do see that as a form of abuse now. Um, it was, it's very hard. I worked with rape survivors for many years, and I remember working with them that the ladies that were raped that had blood and broken bones that you could see, physical wounds, they were taken seriously. Their cases would sometimes go to court, but the masses, the rest of them, who you could not see anything, they would be dismissed. So they were also silenced. They were silenced. So I felt silenced. Don't speak because, or tell us your story, but we see it already from within a framework. Um, it's a done deal. So no matter what I say, what I really wanted, it was dismissed because I am disordered. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Mm,
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of somebody that I was just talking to yesterday that had, unfortunately, you know, a similar story. And it seems like there's some type of patronizing going on that you know, you worked in the field for 30 years, but you just can't see it yourself because you worked in the field for 30 years. And so then you have to trust somebody that can see it
mm,
from a more professional point of view and trust that person that they know you better than yourself and they can define you better than yourself and they can define what you need in your life and what you need to think in your life better than yourself.
mm. And I think there's a constant conflict then. For me, there was in any case, the conflict between their voices and my inner voice. My inner voice was saying, help me, I'm in pain. Or listen to me, I'm hurting. Their voice was saying, we're so sorry you're hurting. Here's a pill. Because you have a disorder, a lifelong disorder. Not temporarily, not connected just solely to your circumstances and whatever is happening, but it's a pathology. There is a there's faulty wiring in your brain. And this is very common. I spoke to someone yesterday, a young friend of mine, um, and he's very comfortable with his position as a major depressive, psychotic, bipolar person. Very comfortable with it and very happy on his medication. Um, so there was no way that he could understand where I was coming from, or would even question it. He's not even questioning it. Um, but what I see in him is a dullness, an absolute dullness of being. And I knew him when he was young, where he was way out and vibrant, and that young man is missing. Now he doesn't see it. He just feels that numb, that numbness. Uh, so it's people, those that are hard to get this message to, but there's others that are suffering that need to hear this, so that they can say, "Oh, there's somebody that understands. There's somebody that's has been on both sides." You know, um, yeah, I'm not there anymore. So glad. Um, yeah, it's also a form of gaslighting because if I say uh, I reject the label, then they told me they literally told me that um, I don't have a good sense of insight, um, or I'm in denial and I need to accept. Um, and I've experienced gaslighting in relationships for decades, so I was really primed for this diagnosis. I was really primed and ready to be misled and to be told this is your truth. Um, so gaslighting, I think, is so common. Um, telling people a different form of truth, um, which fits in somewhere else, but doesn't. It's not who you are. not really who you are. Yeah. Um, and also, if I think about the medical side, um, not once was the side effects of medication explained to me, or even talked about. Not even. And whenever I mentioned it, it would be like, it's just nothing. It's just nothing. It's not important. Um, and
Who,
when
who,
things got worse,
who would say that?
the psychiatrist,
So when you would ask about the side
I
effects,
would ask her. It's fairly common, mild side effects like snoring, which she would just laugh in my face about. She said, "No, it's not. Cannot be the medication." But I never snored before. It got so bad that I could not share a bed with my husband, so it affected my marriage. Um, Now, it might sound silly, but this was important to me. This was very important to me. Um, then dry mouth and nightmares, nightmares. And then at the end, when my medication was increased, um, that got really, really bad. But yet again, when I asked about it, it could not have been the medication ever. It was me. I was spiraling, according to the psychiatrist. I was spiraling, and they needed to rein me in. Um, and
so,
that's deeply, deeply hurtful. It's
yeah,
dehumanizing.
yes,
Mm,
yes. It's, it's, a lot of words go through my mind that I don't know whether to say or not because, um, but it just sounds like a horror. It sounds like one day, one day you have your life and the life might have had ups and downs like everybody's life has. And then something occurs and you start having symptoms of some sort and you go in for advice and elimination of the symptoms, I would think, and you learn something entirely different. You know, there has been this saying throughout my life in this field that people don't come to therapy because they're afraid they're going to learn something about themselves that they didn't know. Well, what if we take that a step further and they're going to learn something about themselves that they didn't know that isn't true?
mm, mm. But how many people question the truth, the validity of what they're saying? Uh, but even if you question, like I do, that I like I did, it is not taken seriously because I'm a patient. I'm not the weight of my opinion is not heavy enough. It doesn't measure up. I remember living in Egypt. Um, a woman, if there was a court case, a woman's vote would be worth half of that of a man. So it would take two women to have the weight of one man's vote. So it's kind of similar to that. You half a person when you're there. Um, and I don't think I'm exaggerating whatsoever. Um, it, there was not once that I walked out there that I felt heard or listened to or that my opinion mattered. I just wanted to get in there, get the prescription, and get out. I I I hated it so much, and now I know why I hated it. I thought it was I wanted to save money, make the visit shorter, but it wasn't about that. It's just it, it was such a powerless feeling, like I couldn't breathe.
Well, it's shaming because when you
Mm,
tell your physician that you're snoring and you weren't snoring before the medication, but you are now, and it's a problem, and they laugh at you. You know, what makes this different from the women that you were talking about, or even, you know, the legacy of people of color in the United States, right? Or other types of populations that are left voiceless. You're paying for a product. You're paying for your mental wellness to be improved.
Yeah. Today was it's been 4 months today since I took my last dosage. And today is the first day that I have mental clarity. My brain has been on fire for the past 4 months. It it could not shut down, it could not relax, it didn't know how to do it anymore. And it's been hell. It has been literal hell, exhausting beyond measure. For every moment of, and I it might sound dramatic, but this is my reality. Every moment of every day would be such hard work just to think. No, this is a medication. This is not me. This is not me doing it to myself. I did not ask for this. I tapered slowly off of the medication over a period of 3 months, and yet for the past 4 months, I have not been able to work. I've not been able to socialize properly, normally, because I have not been able to think. 4 months of my life, and that's not including the time on the medication. This is after it. I don't have words.
But you do have words.
Who's gonna pay the price for this? Who's gonna say I'm sorry? Nobody's gonna say they're sorry. They're sorry about this. I said yes to the medication. Nobody is gonna worry that I was coerced or pushed or bullied. Um, nobody. I said yes. I paid for it, like you mentioned. I paid for the medication to help me. It made me sick. And when I stopped, I thought I was free. And even then, 4 months of minute by minute mental torture. Been very hard. I think you need to speak now so I can get my
Well,
breath back.
good. So I appreciate so much you sharing this because it is so vivid at this point in time for you. You know, when Ashley was with us last week, I think she was talking about having similar horrors, right? And so
Yeah.
to hear that she's on the other side of this, and I don't think anybody could force her to take anything ever again. Um, because when you work this hard to reclaim yourself,
It's really hard work. And even though I said with my mouth that I don't think I'm broken, I felt broken because I functioned broken. So I was hoping I wasn't broken, but I wasn't sure. Nobody could guarantee me that I would be, think normally and feel myself again. Nobody could. There's no test or timeline, nothing. You know, I just had to keep on hoping and hoping and hoping. And today was the first day that I just felt human again.
So it's the first day
And
that, could you repeat that? But pardon
and
me,
it's the first day that I felt human again,
that's
where I could,
what I thought you, yes.
yeah, yeah. And I don't think anyone who hasn't been through it can get what it's like in your mind, in your brain. And you know, I said that I didn't believe it was me, not really me, but it felt like me. You know, that I was I was the problem. There is something wrong with me. And today, this morning, when it started lifting, and I could feel my brain relaxing. It's like, no, it's not. It's not me.
I'm back.
I'm getting back, and I'm not stopping. I'm not stopping. And no one will ever get any support from me about going on medication, no matter what their excuse is. Um, and even going to psychologists, I'm working my way up to, educating myself and peeling back the layers about all the DSM, all the diagnosis, and all the boxes. Um, Mind you, it's many years, and it's all my training and all my practical work. So it's many things. But first I'm going to focus on reclaiming myself. Um, just celebrating that I am me again, and that they were wrong. They were wrong about me.
Excellent.
It's been so long. It feels like the past 4 months is 4 years. It really feels like it. And it makes me so angry that this is legitimized, sanctioned, supported. Oh, how could this be? You know, yeah, I got through this now. Well, day one. This is day one. But how many other people are still suffering? This, this needs to stop.
As we talked previously, the video that we created, which was just a video of light to me, and because I think this is a video of light for me as well, um, because other people will witness this, and other people will understand much more than you can even imagine. From the last video, I had people call me and tell me that this was them, that this was their journey. And we were talking before we came on about, you know, how does this stop, and how do we raise awareness, and is awareness ever going to be enough? And I can tell you, yes.
I hope so. That is why I'm speaking to you. I have no desire to get any shine or limelight or attention because of my pain or my choices. But if I'm suffering like this and I suffered like this, I'm one of millions. I know that for a fact. And I'm not scared. I can't lose anything by speaking out. Maybe a little dignity, or you know, um, people seeing me. Um, but you know what? I like me. I like the original me, and I'm glad she's back. So, you know, if this can help even just one person, um, then I'll do it again and again and again.
Well, I do want to thank you so much for sharing this today. I don't have words to be able to address your strength and your resiliency, your faith in yourself, and the love for yourself. Um, when we hear those voices that say things aren't right, it's so easy for us to be coerced into thinking that we're not doing something right, we're not hearing something right, that the uncomfortableness is on us. And I think that's for anything that we come into contact with. I hear people say things like, this is kind of off topic, but I'm too sensitive, or I'm too this, or I'm too that, or and I'm just like, who told you that? And how can we discount ourselves so much according to some type of false standards? You know, a book of diagnoses cannot describe a person. It never was able to. And see, when I was young, we looked as clinicians, we looked at that book as just a book. We didn't look at it as a Bible. It was not our, it was not that we gave up looking at a person in favor of this, but it was a different educational time. I was not educated this way initially, that the DSM was anything but a hypothesis, set of ideas, and not a truth. And so
Mm.
I think for me as a clinician, it was very easy to not see a DSM, or I mean, I know the DSM. I could take a test on the DSM, but it's a book, and it's a sad book because, one of the things I always think about is that when we enter services, we're at the lowest part of our life, whether it's for physical health or for mental well-being. It's not our first choice. And
No.
and so it's like going to the emergency room. Is that who we are all the time? But somehow this gets captured. So I want to thank you so much and thank your family for, I know this is late tonight and I'm interfering with what is happening right now, and that thank you so much. And we'll be talking very soon. I'm going to stop the recording right now. And let me just do that. Let's see. There we go.